This would be insane, as reports have come out that the Padres might be interested in this player who would make a huge impact on this team. How real is that report? What does that mean for us? What's the cost? All these questions and more will be answered now. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Padres Digest with your host, Andrew. We're back on the rumor mill, back on the trade mill, back on the, the usual stuff that we're always on. But we got some interesting news, I guess. First of all, sorry I've been gone for so long. I don't know if you can tell, but I have been sick for like half a week. I have been miserable. My voice was destroyed. I sounded like a 40-year-old smoker, and it's still a little bad, so I'm sorry. Also, there just hasn't been that much Padre news recently. Also, please apply if you would like. So, bear with me. But I did see a lot of reports, and I didn't want to report on it immediately because I didn't think how realistic it was. But I've seen a lot of reports now about the Padres being interested in Freddie Peralta, a name we've talked about before, a name that's been brought up a lot on like trade possibilities. But now we are going to explore it and what it would cost, all that kind of stuff. Before we get too deep into it, though, quick word from our sponsor. Before we get into all the news today, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download Kalshi using the link in the description and enter code DIGESTMLB, you'll get $20 when you trade your first $100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the US. On their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, pretty much everything. And whether you're in California, Texas, or anywhere else across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. For sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market, where you can close positions at any time. I know we mostly focus on baseball around here, but with playoff football in full swing, things are getting intense. For example, looking at this AFC matchup involving my Patriots and the Denver Broncos, gotta do my hat switch real quick, with Drake May leading the way, I actually think these odds are pretty accurate. It's a good example of how you can jump into any market like this and trade based on how you see the game playing out. Not just that, you can also trade on in-game outcomes like how many points get scored or which players find the end zone. It's genuinely a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. So, download Kalshi with the link in the description, and don't forget to use code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. And thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video. Okay, hi, welcome back. So Freddie Peralta, 2.70 ERA should probably tell you what kind of pitcher he is. A very good, very solid pitcher. As you can see, one of the reasons Freddie Peralta is so appealing to the Padres is because he's not only inexpensive, but the prospect capital wouldn't be insane, as he only has this year of control. That would allow them to potentially add another starter and a bat. King, Peralta, Pivetta, Gallen, no thank you, but Gallen, Musgrove, Vasquez, or maybe they add another starter like Little or Montgomery or via another trade. So, let's start with an article real quick, and I'll read some stuff for you, and then we'll really dive into who he is and what it would cost, right? So Brewers right-hander Freddie Peralta is not a lock to be traded, but plenty of other clubs are interested. He's already been connected to the Astros, Giants, Mets, Orioles, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, and Braves this offseason. Today, Ken Rosenthal of The Athletics writes that the Padres have checked in with the Brewers, while Katie Woo of The Athletic reports that the Dodgers remain engaged. That's a big point we'll come back to in just a second. Though Peralta's $8 million salary would undoubtedly be appealing, especially if they move Pivetta and his $19 million salary in 2026, the Brewers would want something notable in return. Subtracting from the big league roster would be counterproductive, and the Padres have also traded away a large number of prospects in recent years, including sending top prospect Leo DeVries to the Athletics in last year's Mason Miller deal. Lining up on a deal with Milwaukee may be tricky. So before we get too deep into it, let me start with this. I fully realize this is a long shot. I fully realize that we don't have the prospect capital we once did. I fully realize all of these things before you guys destroy me in the comment section, call it fake news, or whatever you guys want to call it. I fully realize this. I am a very realistic person, I promise you. But this is a report. I report on reports. So I will be honest with you. I will be real with you. But I want to at least present to you the facts, right? Because all reports have facts behind them. Let me report to you the facts, is my plea to you. So Freddie Peralta, look at those numbers. Very good. That's the easiest way I can describe it. Very good, right? Some of the best pitching run value in the league, some of the best fastball, some of the best breaking stuff, some of the best off-speed stuff. His expected ERA was higher than it was in his regular ERA, 270, but that's okay, right? So he's the kind of guy who's going to get a lot of strikeouts. His walk rate is not great, so he does walk some people, but people don't hit him very hard, but kind of in the air, but in a place like Petco Park, that's not the hugest issue because, we're a pitcher's paradise. But he's a very solid pitcher who will get people out, whether it's through strikeouts or letting the ball travel and letting the outfield do their job. He needs a good defense behind him. And honestly, we have a pretty good defense. So I am happy to report that he would be a good fit, right? So why does he fit? Contract value, 2026, he only is getting $8 million this year. He is a 1-year commitment, which isn't great, right? He's a frontline starter production at mid-rotation price. In a market where top starters cost 25 to 30 million, this is elite value. He could be a number one on this rotation. I feel like if they did get him, they'd put him behind King. I don't know if I'd agree with that, but they'd probably put him behind King. But for 8 million, that's great, right? Padres obviously need certainty, not projects for rotation. Peralta is proven at the MLB level, a consistent strikeout arm capable of anchoring the rotation in big games. He has a high strikeout rate, limits balls in play, fits the Padres' preference for pitchers who can miss bats, control damage, pitch out of trouble without relying on defense, but he can rely on his defense, like I said. Flexibility, 1-year deal means no long-term commitment, no future payroll clog, ability to reassess after the season, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, obviously, right? Because 3 of our pitchers are technically on 1-year deals, right? Michael King's on a 1-year deal. Yes, I know he signed a longer contract, but he can opt out after this year, which he probably will do. Nick Pivetta is also on a 1-year deal because he's not going to come back. He's on an opt-out. And then if we get Peralta, that's another 1-year deal, right? So if we do get him, we're going to be pretty clear. We're going to have the same problem this year, next year. You know what I mean? If MLB doesn't get locked out. But market comparison, quick hit. Comparable starters are signing for 3 to 5 years at 25 to 30 million annually, or AAV, you know what I mean. Peralta gives similar impact at fraction of the cost. That makes him more attractive than big free agent commitments, bounce back gambles. But the catch though, Milwaukee knows all of this. The contract plus performance combo makes him very expensive to acquire. The real question isn't money, it's prospect cost. So what would it cost? Why the price is high. Freddie Peralta is one of the most valuable trade targets on the market because he's a proven frontline starter. He's cheap and he's only on a 1-year deal. Ignore the ice cream truck behind me if you can hear that. He's already been linked to half the league's contenders, which immediately drives the price up. Milwaukee doesn't have to trade him. They can compete with him in 2026 or hold him and get a compensatory pick, I can read, if he walks, aka they can offer him a qualifying deal, and if they sign with another team, they'll get a pick out of it. What the Brewers will want, they want young, controllable pitching, arms that are close to MLB ready. They're not looking for rentals or filler. Any deal has to justify giving up one of the best value contracts in baseball. What the Padres can and can't do. Subtracting from the MLB roster doesn't make any sense because we're pretty thin on that. Like, we can't lose anybody and still be good. Well, in a sense, right? The farm system has already taken its hits in recent years. Obviously, that limits how aggressive San Diego can realistically be. So, what would it cost? Part 2. Here's a realistic Padres prospect with rankings, not a proposal, just the type of talent Milwaukee would ask about. Likely off limits, Ethan Salas, Cruz Schoolcraft. Cruz Schoolcraft is the newer pitcher we got in the draft. You know who Ethan Salas is. But there's some realistic discussion pieces. Jager Haynes, who was number 10 on the prospects, or the top 30 prospects for the Padres. Francis Peña, who's number 20. Victor Lizarraga, I can read, number 28. MLB adjacent arms, Miguel Mendez, who we've talked about before, and B-Rod, Bradley Rodriguez, who's a relief pitcher. The key point, this wouldn't be one prospect, it would be a multi-piece package built around pitching. And the problem is, the more realistic discussion pieces, I doubt any of you have heard of those 3 names, and to be honest, I've heard of them maybe once or twice, so that's probably not exactly the kind of players that Milwaukee would want. But as we know, AJ Preller is very good at not developing a talent, but finding diamonds in the rough in the prospect pool. That's why people like trading with the Padres, because we have really good players that are just sneaky good players. You know what I mean? Like the reason you see so many former Padres playing in the league still is because we're really good at finding random players and making them better than what they seem and trading them away. Now, obviously, I know a lot of you guys are like, we hate that AJ Preller trades away to our prospects, and in a sense, I agree with that. But he does it, and he's going to probably keep doing it. That's the AJ Preller way. But just the last thing, my final thoughts. As much as we'd all love to see a pitcher like Freddie Peralta in a Padres uniform, the reality is that the cost is probably just too high for San Diego to afford without either hurting the major league roster or further depleting an already thinned out farm system. The on-field fit makes a lot of sense, but the acquisition cost is where this gets more complicated. From Milwaukee's perspective, it makes more sense to either hold on to Peralta and make another run with him, or move him to a team with significantly more prospect depth like the Dodgers, Mets, or another contender that can outbid the Padres without feeling the long-term impact. If the Padres still want to add to rotation, the more realistic path is either trading for a smaller, less expensive arm or signing a cheaper free agent pitcher still left on the market. So I know I did a video on Verlander and Scherzer. I know Christian's doing a video. I don't know if it's going to be out before this one or after this one, but he's doing a video on stuff like that. So the realistic cause of this, or realistic reality, whatever, of this is that he would be perfect for this team, but it's a long shot. And not like a long shot like us making the wild card. No, I'm joking. Not like a long shot like it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. If I had to get a percentage, 10% chance it would happen. I think a team, and as much as I would hate to say, the Dodgers have, I think they have the number one prospect pool in the league right now, so they can trade their prospects away because they're not going to use their pitching prospects. Look at their rotation. If they add Freddie Peralta to that rotation, like, that's going to suck. But yeah, a team like that, or I've seen the Mets, obviously, we've talked about their prospects on a video forever ago. They have the prospects to make this deal work, so it's going to cost a lot, and I don't think we have that. We can try. The best we can maybe do is drive up the price enough that other teams overpay, but realistically speaking, this is not something that's probable. But, you know, like I said, it's a report. I report on reports. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like Freddie Peralta? Do you think you'd want him for a year deal? Because obviously we can try to re-sign him if we did get him, but are we going to be able to afford him? Probably not, right? So do you like this for a 1-year deal? Do you want to stay away as far as possible? And if you have any ideas on starting pitchers you want, or maybe I can make a video on it, let me know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Sorry for the voice. Again, I've been sick. It's been horrible. So hopefully it'll get better in a bit. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Go Padres, and also go Patriots. Drake May. Woo! Okay, goodbye. Goodbye.